Wow, what a crowd. Welcome to Indiana basketball, Archie. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fred Glass, and I'm the athletic director here at Indiana University. And on behalf of everyone affiliated with Indiana University, I want to welcome you and thank you for coming out today. It's a very exciting day, and it's been a really exciting time for me to get to know Archie throughout this process. I also want to welcome him specifically, as well as his wife Morgan and beautiful daughter Leah, to the Indiana University family. By getting to know Archie, I'm even more confident than ever that he is the right coach, the right basketball coach for us to lead us to meet our very high expectations here at Indiana University. And I've got to say, Archie, after observing your first team meeting, I'm even more confident than ever that you're the right guy for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor and pleasure for the first time ever to introduce to you the new head men's basketball coach at Indiana University, Archie Miller.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First and foremost, this is why you want to be at Indiana University right here if you're a basketball person. Honored, my family and I, Morgan and Leah, are honored and excited to represent Indiana University in what we consider now one of the finest basketball traditions in all of college basketball. I'd like to thank President McRobbie and Fred Glass for their confidence and faith that our vision, as we talked through it, and what we're about, fit the university and also met, their expectations in terms of how they want this program to be run. I have to thank my family in general. Morgan and Leah made the trip over here, and it's not easy to be a coach's wife, in particular, one that moves around quite a bit, but this was one opportunity I think we all are really, really excited about, joining the community and doing what we can to help any and everyone. My immediate family, my mom and dad, two sisters, Lisa and Dana, and my brother Sean, we have a very tight family, and they've meant a lot to me in terms of helping me and supporting all of us on our journey. I've been a part of some great staffs, and I've worked with, alongside and worked for some great coaches, and played for Herb Sendek at NC State and worked for him, and taught me and a lot of others just how to be organized and prepared and ready for anything. My dad is a Hall of Fame high school coach, probably the best coach that I've ever been around, and probably taught me more about coaching than I realized way before I wanted to become a coach. The conversations in the car or at the dinner table or wherever we were really centered around the game. Thad Motover down the road at Ohio State, he's a dear friend. He took me in and he changed my perception of what coaching is all about. And it's about our players. And he's the very, very best at convincing you how to invest your time in them rather than anything else. Because if they're enjoying themselves and their experience is something that is going well, then you're going to get great, great productivity back. And obviously I finished up with Sean, my brother Sean, and he's the most instrumental person in my life when it comes to basketball. He's tied a lot of things together for me. What we were able to accomplish in Dayton started with a blueprint that started at Arizona probably about eight years ago, and in similar fashion to IU, storied past, great fans, great university. I think what we were able to accomplish at Dayton with that blueprint with some tweaks can work here as well. I'll have to say that obviously I must and our family is forever grateful to the University of Dayton. They took a chance on me when I was 32 years old and I was 0-0, and that's hard to do. And they walked alongside of me for 6 solid years, and we were able to, have some special moments. The reason I'm here, and I really believe this, is the state of Indiana. The state of Indiana, in many ways, is me. It's how I grew up. I'm from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh, and I'm the son of a coach who sat around all day long with a ball in his hands from about 5 or 6 years old, and the only thing that was ever preached to me was, you have to outwork everyone. You have to be the hardest working person or player every day. Character, how you treat people, especially the ones that can do nothing for you, that really is what it's about. You have to love the game more so than anything. And you must operate with an element of toughness in everything you do. You can't make any excuses, and you have to earn the right to be good. And I feel like it's simple to me. Quinn Buckner told me on the phone the other day, he used the term OKP, our kind of people. I think it's kind of simple. I'm just like everyone here. And I want everybody to have that feel as we keep moving forward, that someone really respects the way that the state operates, the kids in the state, the high school coaches, the families, they all grow up wanting to be here. And for me, I hope to be able to represent it in a big way. We're going to approach our program, and I think Fred and I discussed this probably more so than anything. We're going to approach the program on 3 levels, and those 3 levels are going to really be embraced and attacked very hard. The first level is obviously our past. Every player, every former coach, every former manager that laid the groundwork for this place to be what it is today, we owe them a lot. And our effort level and our give back has to be, really unmatched. And they have to feel that they're a part of everything that we do. And our players have to feel that power. That's something we're going to really fight hard for. The current, which is our current team who sits before you, they're our players. I didn't recruit them, and as I told them, they are my players. We invest in everything and they all matter right now, and I think that there is value to every single individual on our team. They deserve the very best. They deserve the very best from not only our academic support, our staff, our strength coaches, you name it, but they deserve the very best because of what they're representing. And they're going to be pushed very hard in everything they do on and off the floor. There's an expectation that comes with being an IU player, and they're going to understand that every day. But the word dream was used as well today, and I think a lot of it can be misguided. We're going to do everything in our power as we deal with them to help them reach their dreams, which they're all going to be different. But at the same time, if we work like that to help them reach their dreams, then in return, we're going to have an opportunity to reach our dreams because we're going to get maximum commitment back, which is what everybody expects here. The last part for our current guys is an expectation as a student in the degree. The degree is very important. It'll be something that we talk about regularly. To graduate from Indiana University and play here, your avenues and your doors are open much wider than most probably realize, and nothing will be more important off the floor other than the degree. The last part of the level, the third level, is the future. And the future is the recruiting. And we're going to have a great way about us, and the term that we'll use is called inside out. We have to start inside this state of Indiana, and we have to start moving outside very slowly because the footprint is there. The inside-out approach means that we have to dedicate ourselves to the high school coaches in this state, the high school talent in this state, the grassroots programs in this state, and they must feel like they're being dominated by Indiana University. You're not going to get every player, you understand that, but if we want them, we should have a great chance at getting them because of the commitment level that we're putting forth 24 hours a day at home. As you move further out, you have our great footprint of the Big Ten. Some of our best players that have ever played here aren't from Indiana, and we have to be able to capitalize on that as well. And then the third thing, as you go outside even a little further, is how can you find those difference makers that come from all over the place? New York, overseas, I don't know. But if they fit the profile and we have an opportunity to bring a difference maker here, then that will always trump us to try and bring a championship player. But inside out is the theme, and I think if you start with the past, you deal with our current, and you work that hard at those three levels, I think you can deliver all what we want because it's been done before. And told our players this as we finish, to everyone who loves Indiana University and our program, the identity of an Indiana Hoosier reads like this within our walls. They'll embrace high standards both in the classroom, on the basketball court. They'll compete for excellence in both. Represent yourself, your family, and Indiana University in a first-class manner at all times. Tell the truth and make no excuses regardless of the circumstances. Respect your teammates. Take responsibility for their well-being and treat them as family. And understand our team's attacking mentality. Pursue relentlessly a competitive edge in all that you do in our program. And focus on team goals. More than individual goals, know your role on our team and take great pride in it. If we can get our players to buy into that code and we stay circular around that identity of who we are every day and who we bring in here every day, then I think at the end of the day, the main goal will happen, which is to make this great state, all of our alums, our former players, this university, and everyone who's growing up in the state of Indiana very, very proud, because the expectations are set high and they're achievable. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe that. And I thank everybody for coming out. It's been an awesome, awesome experience to come here. I'm looking forward to getting started immediately, and we look forward to trying to have moments like you've had in the past and just trying to make them as regular as we can. Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and open up for questions for the media. We'd ask that you identify yourself and what organization you're with, since we've got some people that maybe have not met you. And the first one we'll have right now, Mike.
Hey Archie, welcome to Bloomington. Mike Miller, Bloomington.
Thank you.
Times. What's your vision for crafting the non-conference schedule? Sorry. Mike Miller, Bloomington Herald-Times. What's your vision for crafting the non-conference schedule? What are some of the components you weigh when you're looking at opponents to get on the early season schedule? And with that, would you also like to pursue restarting the Kentucky series?
Well, the non-conference scheduling component things, Mike, is probably the second most important thing you do as a coach, other than recruit. Here at Indiana University, non-conference scheduling is about finding a way to put yourself in a great position in terms of seeding. You have to be the master of creating a non-conference schedule that, one, creates great excitement with your fans, two, challenges you at the highest level as you enter the Big Ten, and three, puts you in a non-conference resume that stacks up with the best teams in college basketball, and that's what will be our goal. And in terms of the series with Kentucky, that's far removed from where I've come from, so That's something that down the line, I think Fred and I will discuss and see how that happens. I know it's an important piece to the puzzle here with our tradition, but right now we'll just focus on the day at hand.
Zach.
Zach Oster with the Indianapolis Star. Just as much as you can, as much as you're comfortable, just can you sort of talk about how the process unfolded on your end with Indiana? When did it kind of start, and just how, what led to today?
Well, yeah, I'll leave the process and the search kind of to Fred to talk about. There really wasn't a whole lot of time frame. I know this. Two things happened when I was able to talk to Fred. I felt like we had an amazing conversation on all levels. I thought our conversations matched up with, so to speak, some of the questions and answers, and felt really comfortable about it at the end. And I was very, very happy with how things turned out.
Archie, Pete DePrimi over here with the Fort Wayne News Sentinel. Just have you finalized your thoughts on formulating a new staff?
We're going to build the best staff in college basketball. That's my goal. And how that unfolds is by the minute. I'm the head coach at Indiana University, which we all know is one of the proud places. And there's a lot of expectations around here. And our current players, as I told them, are going to play for a tremendous staff. They're going to be diverse, versatile, completely eyes wide open at the level. And at the end of the day, they're going to be able to totally develop our guys. And it'll go day by day, and as things happen, they'll be announced.
Jeff Rabjohns from Peaks.com. You mentioned recruiting in the state of Indiana. When you look in the state of Indiana, what do you see as far as talent level, and what do you see as far as the programs and the coaches that you'd be able to recruit from?
First of all, top-notch coaching. I think that's the greatest thing about the state of Indiana is the high school approach. Tremendous high school programs, starts all over the state, not just in Indianapolis. And you have tremendous talent all over the state. We all know that. I think it's a state that is renowned for putting out players that do well in college because they're prepared. And I've had a couple instances to recruit the state in my time all over the different parts of my journey, but every time I've ever went in and come out, you always get the same feeling of that is a high level operation going on out there. So when it starts with the state of Indiana, it's going to go from the high school coaching, the high school talent, the grassroots talent, and we have to invest a lot more of ourselves to get in return. We don't expect anything. We're going to have to earn a lot of respect in the state.
Hey Archie, Chris Hagan, Fox 59, Indianapolis.
Chris.
As you know, relationships so important with current players, recruits, coaches. They can't be forced, but how do you build those in a timely manner to get this thing rolling the way you want it to?
It's going to take time. There's only one of me right now, but as these guys know, I've already had a lot of conversations on the way in. We're going to start having a lot of conversations as we keep moving forward. I have to invest in their families. I have to invest in the important people in their lives. And like I told them, I didn't recruit you, but you're mine. So at that point, if you're mine, then I have to, do everything in my power to make sure that you understand there's great belief and value in you here. It's a clean slate. So, it's going to take time. I think every coach goes through that when they show up at a place. It's an awkward moment, not only for them, but for me as well. But I think we're off to a good start.
Archie, Bob Kravitz with WTHR in Indianapolis.
Bob.
You've had a lot of opportunities to take other jobs over the last couple of years. Why was this the right place and the right time for you?
Well, I was at a special place, and I never talked to one school in my 6 years at the University of Dayton other than Indiana University. And I think that speaks, sort of volumes about the power of the brand of basketball. I'm a basketball guy. I love the Big Ten. I think it's an excellent league with the best coaches, the best road venues in college basketball. And, in my time in the league, I was, blown away. And I was blown away by this place the most, though. My first instance, here, or really my lasting impression here was 9 years ago in Coach Crane's first year when things weren't off to a good start. He had inherited something that wasn't, very easy to take over. But I remember being in here and feeling the power of this building on that team. And I left saying, well, I wonder what it's like in there when they're really good. And I've always come back to that.
Yeah, Archie, Rick Bozich from WDRB in Louisville. People would ask style of play. How would you define an Archie Miller basketball team?
Well, I just told these guys the same thing. You know, style of play for me is always on the run, offensively. I think the more we're on the run in the full court and the half court, which means a lot of movement, a lot of pace. I think our teams at Dayton were known for great ball movement, unselfishness. But I told these guys it's going to be pace, it's going to be player movement, flow, and it's going to be an attacking, aggressive style. They're already terrific offensive players. They've been used to some great offensive teams here in the past, and I think our style will fit with a lot of different personnel. Versatility is something we look for. Defensively, it's something to take great pride in. We have to become a tough, nasty team on defense. And I think at the end of the day, you know, if you looked at our teams at Dayton, we may not have been the biggest, but there wasn't very many days that I left that I say that's not one of the toughest minded groups of people. We have to become a tough minded group, because to win at the level that we want to win at, you have to be able to beat different styles. You know, you can't be one-dimensional. You have to have some versatility, not only on offense, but you have to have some versatility on your defense. And we're aggressive. We're going to be very physical, and we're going to try like crazy to be very disciplined. It's not going to be very frantic, but it's a tough-minded approach on that end.
Archie. Greg Doyle
Hey,
from
Greg.
Indy Star. Hi. There's not a lot of schools you can say this about. Indiana's one of them where the fans, some of them say, we'd like an IU guy. They're going to be happy with you, I know it. But in the meantime, uniting the fan base. How important is that? How possible is that?
It's vital. You know, I think when these guys feel the power of a united anything, you know, they're going to be better for it. And I got to work very hard, Greg. You know, I have to work very hard to earn a lot of trust. It's going to take a lot more out of me to get what I want out of people than just asking. I know that. You know, they have to feel good about the way things are going. Our former players and our fans have to look at our program like it's being run at a high class, high standard, and at the end of the day, that's going to take some time as well. But I think, you know, the ability to unite a fan base comes down to productivity. You know, anytime you're successful, people are happy. When they're not, you know, that's the case. But I feel like we had a united fan base at Dayton. It's one of the most passionate fan bases in the country. I know what this one is about too. They loved the way our kids competed. They loved the unselfishness. I think they loved the class that we operated with off the floor and in the classroom. So, you know, I think we'll have the same approach. And like I said before, Indiana, you know, kind of like guys like me. If you're doing things the right way, I think they'll appreciate it.
Arch, Mike DeCourcy from
Mike.
Sporting News and the Big Ten Network. You mentioned about Sean's influence on you. I know he had other things to occupy himself while some of this was playing out, but what guidance did he give you about this, taking this step into Indiana?
Well, you know, Sean is the very, very best. He probably develops his coaches more so than even his players at times without him realizing it. So, you know, you have an approach, you have a plan, and you have to look at yourself and say, does your ability to execute your plan work at Indiana? And I think his unwavering response would have been with absolute confidence. He thinks it's a great place. He understands that. And he also gives me great confidence because when we entered Tucson, I guess 8 years ago together, in a similar approach but a much worse shape, you had to unite the former players. You had a great legacy of what's going on. You have all this tradition, you have expectations. And we were coming a long way not knowing anyone. And we basically put the plan down and without hesitation just worked extremely hard. And I think you're seeing a program out there that's sort of operating the same. You're dealing with high expectations, you're dealing with great players, you're dealing with tremendous former players, you're dealing with an unbelievable fan base. And so they're similar in that regard in the way you take things over. But I will say this program has been run really, really well and hard on the way in, and this is a much higher starting point facilities-wise as they had there. And this has much more of a quicker fix just due to the familiarity, I think, with the area.
Coach, Terry Hutchins of CNHI Sports in Indiana. You were asked about putting your coaching staff together. Is it important to have an Indiana tie on your coaching staff, or is it more important to have a cohesive unit that works well with you?
I think both could play a part. The most important thing is a team of coaches. You better have a team of coaches if you want to have a great team. You have to have an unbelievable commitment to one another. You have to be completely united, and the message is always the same. And if that group's working like that, regardless of where they're from, your current players, the guys on your team, are going to give great effort and they're going to get better. But I do think this is a unique place with tremendous pride in the state. There's a lot of things that go on around that, we want the best players here from our state here, because that's what's going to make everybody so excited to watch them grow up in front of their eyes at IU, like it was a long time ago, I think. So all to be discovered, but there's some important decisions to be made.
Archie, Tricia Whitaker, CBS 4. You touched on it a little bit, the high expectations that surround this program and have always surrounded this programs, but is that maybe one of the reasons why you took this job, because you embrace those high expectations and you understand maybe some of the pressure, good or bad, that comes with it?
I don't think you come to Indiana if you don't want to live in the neighborhood. I guess that would be my, if you don't want to move into that neighborhood, then you shouldn't be here. If you like the neighborhood, then you come. And I think, like, I've been at a high level at a lot of different spots. I've been with great people. I think I'm very confident in what we do works. And I'd like for the opportunity to try and make it work here. And I think the Big Ten is an excellent league with great coaches to be with, to be against, and you're going to get better. They're going to make you better, and you're going to be better for it. So, to me, I know where we're at, and I know what the job is, and that didn't waver me. I think more than anything, this is what you want if you love the game.
Hey, Coach, Stu Jackson with thehoosier.com. Out of all the coaches that you've worked with, whether it be a head coach or assistant coach from your staff at Dayton, who do you feel has had the greatest influence on your coaching philosophy and vision to this point in your career?
Well, they've all had, their moments of impactfulness. I think Coach Mata changed my complexion of what college basketball was all about. It used to be about, hey, I'm gonna scout all these plays and get these guys ready to go. His approach was, you need to spend all that time not on the plays, you need to spend all that time on the players. And that was different. And I loved it. I spent more time with guys and had the ability to work with great players. But I think when it all really comes down to a philosophy standpoint of putting it all together, running the program from scheduling to recruiting to development, how you do it year round, that clearly comes from Sean, and I think he's the very best at it.
Archie, John Bedell with WHIO and Dayton TV. You mentioned the Dayton fan base a couple times. Since Saturday, the vast majority of them on social media, or the ones that we've interacted with, have said the same thing. Thank you for reviving the program, and then wishing you and Morgan and Leah well in your guys' next chapter here in Bloomington. I wonder what you would say to them as you move on to this next chapter.
I wouldn't expect anything different from our fans. They're the classiest, group of people I've been around, and they took us in, like I said, very early on, and they helped us along the way. And we worked very, very hard to get to where we were at, and upon leaving, I'm very proud. And they're tremendous people there. I'll always root for them. I'll always be somebody I hope that they would call if they needed anything. But it's bittersweet. You have a lot of disappointment when you're in Dayton before you get on the airplane, and then you have a lot of excitement here. So it kind of balances itself out. But I would hope to think that our family did everything we could within the community and obviously at the university to make them proud.
Archie, David Jablonski, Dayton Daily News. How hard was Saturday saying goodbye to your players, and what kind of group do you think you left behind for the next coach?
It's very hard. I mean, as these guys know, man, you're with them in many cases more than I'm with her. Years at a time to bring them in, years over years that you're working with them. You've seen some of the ultimate lows. You lose the death of a player, Steve McIlvain from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and you watch the hurt amongst them all. But then you watch some of their best moments, which is winning conference championships. And, a lot of them have reached back out since the meeting. I don't think the meeting was a lot of fun, but I've been very, very proud of the responses. I think all of those guys are better. I think they all feel good about themselves, and they're winners. And they have a great, great culture right now in terms of the pride in what they do. So whoever the next head coach is, at Dayton, I think he's getting off to a great start, and it starts at their administration as well.
Archie, over here. Sam Eisen with thehoosier.com. Just the resources Indiana has, just Assembly Hall, Cook Hall, just all the money that goes into this program. How should that, play into your decision and make it easier to come to a school like IU?
Well, yeah, I think IU in general and the brand is something that excites me more so than bells and whistles. But clearly, when you have this at your disposal, especially on game night, that's something that really drives home. You know, I've played at a great home court, you know, UD Arena, and if you can get this thing here going, you know, this is maybe your biggest asset in anything you do, is winning games, recruiting, you name it. And then you add in the Cook Hall, which is fantastic. Our players should, you know, quite frankly, be in there 24 hours a day. I mean, they should be in there 24 hours a day, all day long, 7 days a week, because they want for nothing. And, you know, from a facility standpoint and a resource standpoint, these guys hurt for nothing. And, you know, have this at your fingertips is something that you gotta feel good about.
Archie, Dave First from WRTV in Indianapolis. For you personally, what does this mean? And have you directed Fred for some home and homes with Arizona?
For me personally, and again, Morgan and Leah involved in this as well, you know, this is really almost, I don't want to say too much right now, but it's eye-opening. You know, you feel it right now. You feel where you're at. And, you know, being at the stops I've been along, I never really said, hey, one day I'm going to be the head coach at Indiana University. I never thought that way. But to be here, a lot of people had to help me, and a lot of players had to break their back to get us here, and that's the thing that needs to be said the most. Home and home with Arizona, I don't know if Fred's actually going to have the ability to communicate with Sean as easily as me, but I think that's something that down the line would be really cool. He actually mentioned it to me. We can do that. It's just got to be right for both places.
Coach Mike Peckham from Peaks.com. Some coaches like to use full scholarship, 13 or more, or oversign. Some coaches like to leave a couple scholarships for roster management reasons. What's your philosophy in that regard?
Well, I think, you know, in this day and age with the fluidness of the NBA, early departures, also the transfers that happen, you know, in my estimation, it's not to your full advantage to have 13 guys that are playing in the game on scholarship. You know, you're not going to play 13. You know, you may have 13 on scholarship and have a couple guys, whether they transferred in, if they can impact Indiana University, or, you know, you redshirt a potential kid one day and look down the line in his 4th and 5th year as being an all-conference player. There's some of those, but I don't think that we want to be a team that straps ourselves and limits options. That would be what I would tell you, that, you know, we're always going to be comfortable playing between 9 and 10 guys, and if you have 12 or 13 on scholarship, you're probably going to see some unhappy guys, and sometimes less is more than that.
Archie, Todd Golden with the Terre Haute Tribune-Star. You talked about the importance of Indiana recruiting. What is your pitch to an Indiana high school coach, an Indiana-based AAU coach, to make Indiana the go-to spot for them and for recruits in this state?
Well, I think the way that their kids would be treated would be something that I would put down right away. I think that we spend an abnormal amount of time with our guys, and not just on the floor but off, and care about their total development as a person. I think if you look at our time at Dayton, you know, I think most of our guys would leave and say, you know, I got the most out of that experience because they spent so much time. They worked so hard for me on and off the floor and helping you in all your areas. And I think that's number one. They have to feel, the state of Indiana has to feel that when they give one of their sons to IU, they're going to get treated with the utmost respect and class, and they're going to deliver the very, very best they can for them. When it comes to the basketball, we're not going to have a hard time selling our style. We're not. What we have to sell is the way that we can deliver, you know, 365 days a year in terms of making them better and helping them achieve what they want to achieve. And, you know, we've seen a lot of guys come in one way, leave another, and I think that would be our goal here. So the way we treat them, I think from a basketball perspective, how we develop within our style.
Okay, let me open it up now. Questions for Fred.
Seth Tao, Inside Indiana. Fred, how much of a plus was Archie's previous recruiting experience in the state?
First of all, I really wish I didn't have to go now. If I was practicing law, I'd just rest my case. Archie really brings the whole package, and certainly the recruiting generally, and the breadbasket, the inside out that he espouses with focusing on Indiana and the region first was a big positive. Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, Greg Doyle from the Indy Star. Yeah, it's not rest your case, it's you drop the mic.
Right.
Somebody wrote that.
Right. I was going to do my moonwalk, but I was having trouble getting that going.
Somebody reads the Star. Anyway, Fred, when's the first time you got in touch with Archie? When, if you don't mind telling me, when did you first start negotiating? Whatever.
Yeah, I'm not going to really get into all the ebbs and flows and this and that's about the search. I think the most important thing about any search is who you end up hiring. And you guys have just seen what I've seen over the last several days in this process, and I'm thrilled with the coach that we hired. The only things I'll say about the search is, number one, Archie was on my short list from the very beginning. And number two is he's the only person to whom I'm offered the job.
Fred, Pete DePremio,
Yeah.
Fort Wayne News
Yeah,
Channel.
Pete.
Piggyback on an earlier question, how receptive are you to resuming the Kentucky series, even if it means, probably will mean, playing in Indianapolis?
Yeah, I'm very receptive to restarting the Kentucky series, and I'd like to play one of the games in the cycle here, but I think the most important thing is that we get that thing going again.
Hey, Fred.
Chris
Hagan.
Yes, sir.
You said you've been wowed by him when you talk with the team, but during the process when you're meeting him for the first time, was there like a light bulb moment, or was it a number of things in a row? When did you know this is the guy I want to offer the job?
Yeah, I think it was an evolution. As we're putting the list together, I really was focused on him because of the objective data that you could just find out, at your desktop. Son of a coach, basketball family, 5'9" point guard who played very, very well, at major college level, and in the record books at North Carolina State. Even at a young age, having a very deep and broad coaching experience under a number of significant coaches in major programs, proven winner, proven recruiter, proven player developer, the defense first mentality, defense travels, defense wins championships. So all that stuff, I think propelled him high on my initial list. The next wave was really more subjective stuff. So reaching out to basketball people around the state and around the country, and I'm fortunate to have developed some relationships with people who I trust, who are very discreet, who were able to find things out that I might not be able to find out. Those all came back in a very, very positive way. But the most compelling piece was when we met personally, and a lot of what he shared with you today, he shared with me then. He sees this as the great opportunity that I see it. The vision that we laid out when we started our search, 10 days ago or whatever, is the opportunity that Archie sees. He embraces the expectations, as Trish was referencing. He's focused on the state of Indiana. He wants to recruit inside out. He's a plain-spoken, real person that I think is really going to connect with the guys and future guys and our former players as well. So it was really that evolution, and that's why I stand here today very confident that we have the absolute right person.
Anything else?
Fred.
Hi, Terry.
How many conversations would you say you had with former players, and maybe what kind of feedback did they give you?
Yeah, I probably reached out to a couple dozen former players, several of them in response to them reaching out to me, offering assistance. Some, frankly, who were interested in the job themselves, and some that I just cold called, kind of through the different eras. And it was so invigorating because all of them had a little different perspective, and some of them had different ideas on particular people or whatever. But the conversations almost always concluded, look, I just care so much about Indiana basketball. Go get the right person. And I won't say that some didn't have a strong feeling that it should be an Indiana person and all that. I'm not going to say that's not the case, but there was an overall selflessness to it where they just really wanted to see Indiana basketball get back and go out and hire the right guy. And a lot of great tidbits from the different players, much of which I've been able to share with Archie. So that was a really rewarding experience.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you coming out very much.